It's time for a brand new episode of the Bakery Bears video show.
This is our lifestyle show featuring craft, baking, and a little bit of history.
We've got lots of projects to show and one of our special series to share.
What will we feature this time, and which of our projects will be our favourite?
Let's get on with the show and find out.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Bakery Bears video show. Oh my goodness, how's your summer going?
How's it going, everybody?
How's your summer going, Kate?
How's my summer going?
Yes.
I don't know, really. Not quick enough, I would say.
No, that's true. Unfortunately, whilst the garden is wonderful and it's great to have a garden and to see it bloom and all of that, I'm all set for autumn.
Yes.
It's a bit too warm. And I'm all set for autumn because of the bugs, Kate.
Oh, the bugs are a nightmare for Dan. He's got so many bites at the moment.
I'm currently sporting about 18 or 19 bites. Excellent.
They just really like you.
Yes.
And we discovered a few years ago that we think it's the red hair thing, because they're attracted to different blood types, particularly, I think. And
yes.
Red hair is something to do with it.
Yes.
So, yeah, you do suffer.
But, you know...
We shouldn't wish our life away, should we? But we are very much looking forward to...
We're so much better than we used to be, because we used to really dread the start of summer. And then when we started really sort of doing a bit of gardening, then it changed a bit, and it definitely has changed a bit. And we certainly do look forward to seeing the roses bloom and seeing the flowers in bloom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very, very dry, though. This spring and into early summer has been horrendously dry.
Yeah.
So that's had an impact on the garden.
Yeah, it has. And that's probably what's led to so many bugs too.
That's part of the whole thing, isn't it? With looking after a garden. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It is. We're so excited to be back, because what a show we have in store.
We do.
Oh, yes. Whilst I may have shown you last time a finished colourwork jumper, this time I'm going to show you a brand new colourwork jumper.
Oh, yes.
And it's like... so beyond exciting, you would not believe it.
Very fresh on the needles.
Very fresh on the needles. Kay and I sat down. She was such a great help. Oh, lined up three jumpers. Talk more about this later on the show, but be showing you my next, and I think it's going to be my favourite one ever.
I think so too. It's really cool.
Miles. Oh, yes. So that's coming up later on in the show. Yeah. Don't miss it. It's going to be so cool. We've been talking, though, a lot about songs this summer, because our daughter Bryony is home from university, and she's always been going on about how she wished that she and her boyfriend had a song. Well, it turns out they do now, so it set us sort of thinking about our songs and also embarrassing her, which was quite fun.
Yeah, it was quite fun.
Yes.
Yeah, we very much enjoyed that.
Yes, well, but I think it was embarrassing because it was honest. It was honest looks.
Yeah, she's like, ugh! Stop looking at each other like that. Gosh, right, okay. I just won't exist.
So we were wondering, it doesn't have to be like a couple song, does it? Because I have personal songs too, and I think you do too. I mean, what's interesting is my personal songs, I think, tend to be more of my sort of musician side, and it's not necessarily something which you would sort of go away and listen to as easy listening.
Yeah.
Because one of my personal songs, definitely, and the reason why it's a song is when I heard it, it was a moment that stayed with me my whole life, and that is The Chicken by Jaco Pastorius and the Word of Mouth Orchestra. The first time I heard that, I was like on another plane, because the drumming's amazing and the song is so cool and all of that. Another song I would say that's similar is Whiplash from the movie Whiplash.
Yeah.
That sort of, on a musician level, it sort of made a memory in my brain that made me never forget. But then, of course, so first question, do you have songs? And I think you have songs.
I've definitely got favourite songs.
You really like that dance version of Heaven.
I do. Who sings that?
Can't remember, so I'll have to just stick it up on the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I do really like... I mean, my sort of zone for songs generally is the 80s, because that's... I don't know. I obviously was listening to a lot of music in the 80s, but not really aware of it because I tend to know all of the 80s songs, don't I?
I think you must have heard that Heaven song in a club and you must have danced to it.
Oh, yeah, that one, definitely. I did have a bit of a spell of going to clubs with my best friend at the time. Not for very long, really. I was sort of 18, 19, maybe for about a year. We went to clubs. So I think that was very kind of formative, if you like, in terms of music that makes me smile and want to dance around.
So Heaven, I would say, is the one which for me is a standout
I
for
love
you.
That
Oh,
one.
yeah. But then
I hear things like Black Box, Ride on Time. And
that's another club song.
Yeah, that's another club song.
Youth, formative years.
Yeah.
Yeah, moments in time where you're having a good time.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
From our point of view, because I'm sure some of you will be wondering, what was the song that we were sort of gazing at each other? Because a couple of songs are another thing, isn't it? And what we said to our daughter was that songs you don't tend to pick them, they tend to find you.
Yeah.
And the one that is definitely our song now is Shania Twain, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it is...
You're the One.
Thank you very much.
You couldn't remember.
No, because I was too focused on making a joke about how our first song was Daniel Bedingfield. But imagine if you got it wrong.
And that's If You're Not the One. Very similar.
That's amazing.
Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But that one was our song at a time when we couldn't be together, so it had sort of different meaning.
So very quickly, immediately, when we were together, it wasn't appropriate anymore.
Yeah, even though I still love that song, and it still makes me think of when we first met and everything.
Yeah. I mean, Shania Twain's the one for me.
Yeah.
All the way.
Yeah, we love that song.
Shania Twain, You're Still the One.
Yeah.
It's
a beautiful song, and she's a beautiful singer.
It's a beautiful song, and it couldn't more encapsulate you and me.
You're all going to go listen
completely.
to it now if you don't know it. You all probably know it. It's a very well-known song, I think.
I'd love to know if you have a personal song.
Do you have a song?
Kay's is Heaven, mine is The Chicken. Our couple song, most definitely Shania Twain. We have a new couple song, though, Escape, Journey.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever we hear Journey, we go into a zone.
But it's got to be the one where Arnell sings it.
Yes, I'm afraid we won't go down this road again.
Yeah, we don't entertain.
We don't want
anything
don't even go
before
there, honey.
Arnell.
Don't even go there because we'll get a barrage.
I know
of
we will.
Attacking.
Sorry,
Look,
everybody.
It's great. Look, and what we said before is
What was
right.
his name?
Whoever
Steve
you
somebody.
heard first is the one that will
That's true.
associate with you.
Yeah.
We would not like Journey were it not for Arnell Pineda.
No.
So that's the reason why it's Arnell for us all the way.
Yeah, but
And
we appreciate that everybody has different experiences of that band.
Yeah, absolutely. But Arnell is a way better singer.
Yes, he is. Sorry.
He sort of is.
Sorry, everybody.
Really sorry about that.
Don't shout at us.
Look, what a show we have in store because the story of Holy Island is back. Oh, yes. And second episode.
How fun.
And it's time to sort of delve deeply into the Vikings. And it's such a really cool subject because it's something which I've never really explored before. And my goodness, I've learned so much. And it's such a key thing because my hometown is York, but really the whole country, virtually the whole country was taken over by the Vikings. We've got Viking links all over the place. So we should have a greater understanding. And to learn more about them, like we're going to do today, we're going to dispel some myths. It's going to be super exciting. Yeah. But that is not it, because we both have some wonderful What's Off Your Needles.
We do.
Oh, it's very exciting.
Very exciting.
And Kay has something off her needle.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It took me a minute as well to get there.
I was like, what's, just one needle?
Yes.
Yes, it is just one needle.
But pick of the projects later on the show. I'm very excited about the pick of the projects this time. It's our favourite project, remember? We tell you our favourite project, we tell you why it's our favourite project, and we show it to you in our pick of the projects segment. But before all of that, it is of course time for me to say, Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Okay, so...
Didn't I say that lovely?
You said that very nicely.
I know.
Very nicely indeed.
The loveliest I've ever said it.
And when you mentioned Holy Island, I must just say we were watching an old Michael Portillo recently, weren't we?
We were.
An old railway journey.
I think it was...
Was it season?
Why did you say journey twice?
Because the title of the thing
I thought you were doing a me.
No, the title of the series is Great British Railway Journeys. So that's...
Great British Railway Journey.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Oh, Journey.
Yes.
Sorry.
And he went to Holy Island. I think it was like series 6 or 7.
6, I think it was.
6. And he went over to Holy Island and he went to one of the exact locations where we were. And I was like, and I stood where he was standing and I didn't even know it at the time. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Michael Portillo stood here, and I've also got to tell you, we are going to see Michael Portillo in February. He's doing a theatre tour.
The personal audience.
I wish. He's doing a theatre tour, everyone, and he's coming to our actual town where we live. And he's going to be at the theatre that we can walk to in like 20 minutes.
Beyond it.
Tickets booked, going to see Michael Portillo in the flesh. You can imagine my excitement when I discovered this.
It's humongous.
I'm going to be impossible when it comes to February, I'll warn you now.
Yes.
Okay, so back to the knitting. So yes, I have cast on a pair of socks after all of my sock yarn shenanigans last time. I did get that tweedy yarn, and I'm going to show you that in Endy Bits, because I didn't cast it on. I wound it and then I didn't cast it on. I can't even remember why now, but I have cast on something else. So what I wanted to do actually was use some of the yarn that I've been dyeing up in my series this year, in my Perfect Socks series.
That was brilliant. That was brilliant.
My twice.
We're rocking it
as well.
We're rocking the double words.
Doing really well, aren't I, today? I wanted to choose one of the colours that would be suitable for a particular pattern because I really had a hankering to knit a kind of just really relaxing textured sock. At first I thought, oh, maybe I'll design something new, that might be fun. And then I thought, do you know what, I've actually got the Perfect Sock pattern already. And I haven't knit it for a number of years, and it might be fun to go back and knit a fresh pair. So I chose a yarn that would be suitable for that. So this is the yarn that I chose, and this is the colourway called Shop Around the Corner. So I did this one a couple of episodes back, and it's this gorgeous kind of soft buttery colour with little specks of green and like a dusky purple. And it was perfect for this pattern. And I had it already wound and ready, so I thought, why not? It's a lovely yarn. And the pattern that I'm knitting is my Jemima Socks pattern. Now, this pair of socks I designed in 2018. Can you believe that? It's like 7 years ago. And this was actually the first pattern in a little series that I did, a little Beatrix Potter series. There's 2 sock clubs, and each of them has 3 patterns in each. So you can actually buy it as a bundle, or you can buy the patterns separately. But this one, I think, was the very first one. It's the Jemima Socks, and is, of course, designed with Jemima Puddle Duck in mind. And the stitch pattern was to reflect, because there's a part of the book where Jemima's in the vegetable garden and she's like collecting vegetables to take back to Mr. Fox to make a stew. She doesn't know she's part of the stew, but yeah, so she's gathering vegetables in the garden, and there's like a trellis fence behind. So it was inspired by that trellis fence. And it's just a lovely textured stitch pattern. So I'm on the foot of the sock now. Actually, I picked this up again just yesterday after we'd filmed what you're looking at. So I've knit quite a bit more. But it's just looking so lovely. So here is where I'm at now. I'm a good way down the foot, and this yarn, actually, it's just perfect. I chose this one because it's sort of like a duckling colour as well, isn't it? And that made me think of Jemima and little ducklings. So I'm down here now, look, isn't it lovely? So the pattern, it's a knit pearl texture pattern, and it's got this kind of ribby texture, but also a slightly horizontal texture in there as well, that's reminiscent of like just a sort of, you know, the trellis fence that's squares. And it's just lovely. And I'll show you the stocking stitch side of the foot, because I just love how this is knitting up. Because I know that when I'm knitting these colours into my Perfect Socks, you only see a tiny bit, don't you? Because we're doing scrappy socks. But look how lovely this is knitting up. So it's like this really tonal, buttery, goldeny colour with these tiny specks. And it's just perfect for this kind of a pattern. this texture pattern. To be fair, this texture pattern would look good, I think, with pretty much any yarn, because it's this sort of ribby texture. And this pattern has got it's a standard slip stitch heel, but it's got a garter edged heel. Can you see that? And then a square heel turn. And part of the pattern, actually, there is a tutorial in there as to how to pick up your stitches from a garter edge, in case you've never done it before. And I did actually watch it because I couldn't remember which orientation of garter bump you do first. So I just watched a minute of it just to remind myself. So that was actually useful. I'd done that. So I'm not far off finishing this one. And the pattern has a contrast heel and toe, I think. But I'm just doing it all in this yarn because I'm just doing shorties, as you can see, which is my preferred sock. So I did, I think, about 24 rounds for the leg. That's what I kind of like with a short sock. I do 12 rounds cuff and then about 24, 25, 26, whatever fits in with the pattern, if there is a pattern. And then just work my way down the foot. And it's working out lovely. I picked this up yesterday and I hadn't quite finished the gusset decreases. And I just knit all of that from the gusset decreases down very quickly, really. I think when you've got that nice pattern repeat to work to, it just tends to go quicker. What I did as well, I almost forgot to tell you, is as part of me re-knitting this, because it's 7 years since I wrote the pattern, what I've done is I went back and I spent some time just giving it a refresh. So I've added in a chart, because there wasn't a chart originally. Even though it's a fairly simple stitch pattern, I think having a chart is always useful. So I've added in a chart and there was nothing changed about it. But what I've done is I've just given it that kind of look, brought it up to the sort of standard, if you like, of my pattern writing now. Just things like highlighting bits that are important that I want to draw your attention to, and tidying up the formatting, and just all things like that. So it's had a lovely refresh, and I updated it on Ravelry. And as part of that update, I did send out a message to everyone that will have purchased this, just to say I've done a pattern refresh. So if you have bought this before, you will have had a message via Ravelry just to say there's a pattern refresh there if you want to download it. So that was fun to do, actually. And I think because this sock series is now quite old, I think because this was the first one, and then I did another one the following year, I believe, in 2019. You know, I've got it in my mind that I might just start to re-knit all of these just for fun for me. And during that process, when I get to them, I think I'll do little pattern refreshers, because I do like to make sure that I'm revisiting my older patterns and just making sure that they are up to the standard of my patterns now. So that was really fun for me to do as well. I enjoyed actually doing that and going back. And the original socks I knit with some yarn I dyed, which was Fairy Garden. I have shown that on the show here at some point in the past. And I don't know where these original socks are. I think they probably wore out, but I might still have them somewhere.
Is that not the first ever episode of...
Oh, it might be.
It's the first... Because didn't we have one of our... Bakery Bed patrons got in touch fairly recently and said that she was just dyeing up a colourway from that series. And was it that series? Was it that episode?
I don't know.
I think it was. I only saw part of that message because I spoke.
Oh, it wasn't Fairy Garden.
Oh,
It's a different colourway.
Right. What colour was it?
It's actually Fairy Wings, which funnily, that's why you got confused. Funnily, I'm dyeing some yarn this afternoon, but I'm dyeing up the next, or I'm not dyeing up the actual one, but for my perfect socks, when you see me dye the yarn, I've had a sort of run through prior to me dyeing it, because when I dyed that whole series, they were just mini skeins, and I wanted to be sure that it translated properly into a big skein, you know, if I needed to do any tweaks or anything. So I do have a run through dyeing it before you actually see me dye it. So I'm doing that this afternoon, and I actually pulled out another skein because when I was chatting with this particular patron, she asked me some questions about Fairy Wings, the colourway, and I was giving her the information. I thought, oh, do you know what? I love that colourway. I'm going to dye myself up one. So I pulled out another skein as well to do that. It's like Fairy Wings. It's the colourway colourway that I used for my Fairy Wings sock pattern. So you can go and look at it if you want to, because it's, you know, it's on all the photos. It's like this beautiful corally, peachy, oh, it's just gorgeous. So I'm going to do that as well this afternoon. But yeah, I'm knitting away on these socks and really, really enjoying them, actually. It's funny with designing, you know, you design something and you move on to the next, you move on to the next. It's easy to not forget about your past designs, but I think it is nice to remind yourself of what you've done in the past, what you enjoy, because I only really design things that I enjoy knitting myself, and I think that's really important for me that I do it that way. I don't know if all designers work this way. I suspect some designers look at what the knitting world is interested in at that time, and maybe they design around that. But personally, I just design things that I want to knit and that I enjoy knitting, and that's always stood me really, really well.
And so it was nice to go back to one because it tapped into something
Yeah,
which you created that you enjoy, so you naturally you're enjoying it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I really loved this series, and it's summer, isn't it? And it's got that Beatrix Potter vibe, you know. We went to the Lake District quite a lot on holiday in the summer, so there's those sorts of feelings as well. And yeah, I'm just really enjoying it. So Dan Jones, what's on your lovely needles?
Oh, yeah. Pop quiz. Before I show you this, I'm going to quote a film and comment below if you know what the film is. So Kay has asked me, what's on my needles? And I shall say, I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it. Do you know, Kay?
Yes.
Good. This...
Do you want me to say?
No.
Oh, I can't say, can I?
The pop quiz is over.
Yeah, okay. I know.
Oh, my goodness. Oh my...
You can't be far off doing that, surely.
There's not one single thing about this that I don't love. And all of these comments should get you very excited about the pick of the projects. Because I love this project. I love the colourway. Kate dyed this colourway. It's perfect.
The orangey one, yeah.
You were like, oh, what can I use that for? That's not come out quite, as I wanted it.
No.
But look.
I know.
I mean, combining it with the gorgeous black, which Kate didn't dye.
I didn't dye, no. The dark grey is
Yes.
Eden Cottage yarns.
Knitting this a second time, I've never been someone to knit things twice, which is it's so
Lovely.
stupid. I think so long as you leave a little gaps, certainly from my point of view, I need to have a little gap in between, because otherwise I get a bit bored. It's like reading the same book, again and again. So having that gap, coming back to it, it's heavenly. And the other big thing is, because before I deliberately knitted it with yarns that were sort of close,
Yeah.
so that you got that ruined
Yes,
vibe on the
yes.
which that was the idea. That's what I wanted to do. This time, doing it with a stark contrast, it's like it's a different project, and the texture is gorgeous. The yarn feels great.
It's very soft.
I mean, look, I love knitting Let Lope jumpers, but I love feeling yarn like this.
It's very lovely.
And I don't enjoy doing this with a Let Lope jumper.
Oh, no.
No, because it's crackly and itches, and it feels like you've been bitten 18 times. And I should know, because I have. Whereas this is like, disappearing into a nice warm bath that you've perhaps dropped a bomb into, and things are effervescing.
I don't like those.
No, that's...
I've never been into those.
That's Chandler from Friends, isn't it?
I know. Oh, yeah, bath salts.
Yeah.
These days it would be the bath bombs, which are effectively the same sort of thing, aren't they? I don't like them.
No, me neither. I think I remember once when I was really young.
I think it makes your water look grubby.
Yeah. And it just felt weird. I felt like I needed a shower. In fact, I think I showered after I'd been in the bath.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't get the smell off.
No.
And I was like, I don't like this.
I'm an old-fashioned bit of bubble bath gal,
Ever since the bath incident at 2020, I went in the bath and I got some water stuck in my ear, and it didn't come out until the next day when I was out running. And so
And it freaked you out completely.
I don't bathe anymore. Bathing's not for me.
Whereas I love a bath.
I
But,
just shower.
You're very posh. Going to have a shower.
Yes, I'm going to have a shower. It's marvellous. So it's
But
the
this is the
Sweetheart Cowl.
Sweetheart
This is the
Cowl.
Sweetheart Cowl. It's the Sweetheart Cowl, everybody. And I'm just coming up to this final section.
Yeah,
so we are
absolutely.
close. We're close. We're
Yep.
so close, I can feel it.
And you've got, how much yarn have you got?
Ample.
Oh, yes.
I have ample yarn.
You use much more of, you can see he's used a lot more of the grey, but there's plenty there to finish it.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful, thanks very much.
Beautiful.
What else is on your needles?
Okay, well, I've also got a cowl.
Oh, that's nice.
That's fun. I've been working
It's a cowl
on...
off.
It's a cowl off. Who would win the cowl off?
Oh, it's a tie.
Do you have a preference of these two cowls,
It's got to be a
everybody?
tie.
Because there's no winners. Is that what you mean?
There's no winners
We're
here.
all winners.
We're all losers here. That's what they should say.
I said that wrong, didn't I?
No, I don't know.
I said there's no winners.
Yeah, that's
there's
right.
There's no losers is the thing these days.
But the funny thing is, you've just made the perfect point.
Yes.
Because in British sports days,
yes,
where there are no winners.
No, not anymore. Not unless it's changed in the last few years.
There are no winners, so that means we're all losers.
I suppose that's
Yes.
true. Look, let's talk about this cowl. This is my Fairground Cowl. I showed this a couple of shows back and I've made a bit more progress on it. So this is a cowl. Oh, look at that.
It's gorgeous.
Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, colours are lovely. Actually.
So this is a cowl that I'm knitting with it's 2 sets of yarn from Pixie Yarns. And Sophie is running like a club this year. It's called the Roots Yarn Club, and I'm using the first 2 packs from that. There's 6 minis in each, 6 20-gram minis. And then the next one I think comes out in September, and then the last one will be November. But I'm using 12 minis effectively, and then a contrast colour, which is the pink. And I'm this far now. I'm on number 9. So I've not got too far to go. I've just started number 9, and it's just so lovely. So the reason I've called it my Fairground Cowl is because I've used the Fairground stitch pattern from my Fairground socks. I wanted to try it in a cowl since I designed those socks a few years ago, and it just was the right time for me to give this a go. And it's turning out just lovely. Isn't it fun? And it would actually make a great Advent project, I think. There's 12 minis. I know some Advents come with 12, or you could just use half of your Advent to make one. And then you'll just need a contrast yarn, which for me is this gorgeous pink that I dyed up for my birthday this year. It's just like a sort of marshmallowy pink with tiny, tiny little speckles in. And I just thought it went with all of the colours really lovely. And it's just so lovely to knit, and it is looking completely fantastic, I think. And
it is.
I'm only using, so these are the ones I've kind of used already. These are the greens and a purple. I've weighed all of these, actually, all of the ones that I've used so far, and they all weigh more or less the same, pretty much the same. And it means I've used about 7.5 to 8 grams of my 20-gram mini for each of these sections. So that actually, fortuitously, I think works well if you've only got 10 grams as well, because you would have enough if you've just got 10-gram minis. And that would be the perfect amount, wouldn't it? Because it gives you a little bit of leeway for changes in gauge, but you would definitely have enough with 10 grams. You'd have 2 grams to play with, which I don't think that, 2 grams, although it doesn't sound a lot in terms of just slight differences in gauge, I think you'd be fine. So I'm just having a lovely time knitting this, and I can't wait for it to be finished. I think I will release this as a pattern, actually, when it's done. I'll get it written up and get it released, because I've just enjoyed it so much, which is what I've just been saying about designing things that I enjoy. And I do think it would make a lovely, Advent project, or just any, scrappy project. You could just go into your stash, couldn't you, and choose 12 little bits of leftovers, find yourself a contrast yarn, and you can make yourself a lovely cowl. The one I'm working on at the moment is this lovely orange. Well, rusty orange, isn't it? And then I've got 3 left, which are these ones still in the bag here. So yeah, really, really enjoying working on this. Loving how it's coming out. I think that pink just does something. It really, really lifts all the other colours, I feel. I think I do have some favourite colours in this. One of my favourites is the green I started with, that kind of limey green. I love that. And then this one that I've just done, you can see the last full stripe here. I love this one because as I was knitting it, it sort of reminded me of, do you know when you see things, you know those like colour changing cars? Did it used to be a Chimera? And when you look at it, it looks one colour, and then you turn your head and it looked another. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that reminded...
TVI used to do.
Yeah, was it a Chimera? This yarn reminds me of that, because sometimes I was knitting with it and it looked like it was leaning orange, and then other times I was getting a more purplish, pinkish vibe. And, you know, so she's done a brilliant job blending from this purpley colour into the more oranges. This one is a sort of combination of the two. And I really loved that one. What am I using? 3.25mm, which is kind of, I think that's the size I normally use for cowls, and fingering weight. This is fingering weight if I didn't say. Because I don't like, I've said this before, haven't I? But I don't like really gappy gauges, really... you know, really open gauges. It's just not my thing. I prefer a nice, I wouldn't say sturdy. Maybe I would, depending on the item. But I just prefer a gauge that isn't really, really loose, I suppose, is what I want to say. And this is perfect for me for fingering weight.
Is that acceptable?
Oh, yeah, this is really nice. Yeah, because you're using the same. I think you're using 3.5 because it's colour work.
Yeah.
And you want a bit more stretch, don't you, just to allow for the floats and everything. But yeah, your gauge is really nice.
Do you ever look down at your work and think, my goodness, that's gorgeous?
I've been doing that with this.
I was just thinking,
I do think that it looks lovely, so I do sometimes. Yeah, and
that must be good for your mental health.
Yeah, it must be, mustn't it?
Well, it must be.
Looking at something that brings you joy is bound to be good for your brain.
I think it's more than just the joy as well, because I think that there is a realisation that you did it.
Yeah.
So that then gives you self-worth as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never really thought about it before, but I do think this is such a key thing in the world now, because I can't think that we seem to get away from the things which reward us in that way. We seem to, certainly when you're out and about, and people spend so much time sort of in the digital realms. I can't think of many times in a digital realm other than getting likes on a photo, and that's not...
No. I mean, more and more really I'm kind of
it's just
trying to live not in the digital world, because I think it's, you know, all the AI stuff absolutely terrifies me.
It is a bit scary when you can't tell what's real anymore.
No, and I just don't think you can really trust a lot of images these days.
The problem is the fact that you know that exists. It makes you
I was showing Dan, I saw a Vogue article came up, I think on Facebook, it popped up, and there was this model that they'd used. It wasn't a model, it was this beautiful woman. And it said underneath the article that it had been produced using AI. So this person wasn't real. And I showed it to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
And she just looked like a real person. And I zoomed right in. I'm like, I cannot believe this is not a real person.
No.
And I'm like, what are we doing?
That's crazy.
I think it's bonkers. I think it's dangerous, and I don't think we should be doing things like that.
We all need to get knitting and looking at our gorgeous work.
We need to live in the real world, not in the AI world.
Tangible things which appear before you.
Whether me as an old-fashioned person
artwork, or whether it might be music, or who knows what. But you know, those types of things.
We're going to forget how to produce stuff with our actual brains.
We won't, because we're all still here.
Yeah, that's true. We're not AI.
Flying the flag.
Look, we're not AI.
Ow. You're like that girl from Friends.
Oh, yeah, she's
keeps
funny.
punching Joey.
Oh, yeah, she's funny.
That's shocking. Look, it's time to head back to Lindisfarne.
Oh, yes.
Last time, we discovered King Urien and his links, of course, to King Arthur. We also met St Cuthbert and St Aidan, and we learnt about the first written histories of Lindisfarne. But there's one event that really puts Lindisfarne on the map, and that is the really famous Viking attack that took place in 793. So to carry on with the story and discover all about the dawn of the Vikings, let's enjoy the second episode of the story of Holy Island.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our most adventurous series yet. In case you didn't know, I love history. I sort of grew up with it, really, going to school in York and living in a village on its outskirts. So I suppose when Back to the Future came out, it was pretty obvious that I was going to love it. Because for me, learning about history was like travelling in time. The problem with history in the modern world is quite often you have to travel a bit to get to it. I used to do my head in when I was young. We'd go visit a castle one week, then I'd have to wait until the week after for our next trip out before we might see an abbey or maybe a Neolithic monument.
Well, how stupid do you think I felt when I realised that there's a place where it's all within walking distance?
From an absolutely spectacular Tudor castle with a history that spans hundreds of years, and it's got an interior that you won't believe it until you've seen it.
To a priory with a heritage that goes back to the very foundation of Christianity in the British Isles.
And what about the Paleozoic era? That's 60 million years ago to you and me. On this beach, we will find evidence of even that. In this series, we're going to explore the history of an island that encapsulates the whole of the British Isles, but in a space that's 3 miles long and 2 miles wide. This is going to be absolutely spectacular. Welcome to my story of Holy Island. Welcome back to Lindisfarne, the tidal island just off the coast of the north of England. When I saw you last time, we visited the old Coast Guard station and we discovered the story of King Urien and the first written histories of this spectacular place. We met Aidan, the Irish monk, who championed the cause of Christianity in Anglo-Saxon Britain and who founded the very first monastery here at Lindisfarne.
We also discovered the story of Cuthbert, whose life inspired the Lindisfarne Gospels and launched the golden years of Northumbria and Anglo-Saxon Britain.
In this episode of the series, we're going to chart the rise and fall of one of history's most enigmatic peoples.
They were the Vikings, rampaging warriors who, using cutting-edge maritime technology, were the scourge of Europe for over 300 years. They made probably their most famous ever raid right here, so we could not be
In a better place to discover their story, and it starts at Lindisfarne Monastery when it was at its absolute height. The 188 years following Cuthbert's death, which we learnt about last time, were a golden age for Christianity in Anglo-Saxon Britain. It was all really thanks to that decision to unite the churches, and it was at this time that the very first churches in stone were built.
One of the first was built just down the road here in Hexham. This is the east window of St Andrew's Church. When this church opened, it was said to be the finest this side of the Alps, more impressive even than York Minster. By the end of the 7th century, buildings like this had popped up in most of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms of Britain. They were a sign of how well endowed the church had become. It also shows us how peaceful these years must have been, because in times of war and conflict, people don't tend to build anything other than fortresses.
There is no record of the original monastery at Lindisfarne ever being built in stone. All that we know is that St Cuthbert's successor, he took the roof, the thatched roof off the original church, and he covered it in lead. This building that we see today was actually constructed around 1100 AD, and we'll cover that story later on in the series. But there's no doubt at all that in the years following Cuthbert's death, in the time of his successor, Lindisfarne really started to thrive. And it was in this moment that the Lindisfarne Gospels were written.
As we discovered last time, the book is 516 pages long. The text is written in a dense dark brown ink, often almost black, which contains particles of carbon from soot. The pens used would have been cut from either quills or reeds, and there's also evidence to suggest that the trace marks seen under oblique light were made by an early equivalent of a modern pencil. The author was Eadfrith, Bishop of Lindisfarne, until his death in 721 AD.
It is an extraordinary piece of work. Eadfrith created 90 colours using just 6 vegetable and mineral extracts, all found locally. The blacks actually being analysed, and they found that it was created using egg white and soot. And actually egg white was used throughout the book, because the book, when it was finished, was bejewelled and it was gorgeous with, really precious stones all over it. And each of them was stuck on using egg white.
Over the next 100 years, Lindisfarne became one of the most important Christian centres in Britain. Life may not have been as hard for these modern monks as it had been for Cuthbert on his island, but still, here they were at the edge of civilization, looking out across a cruel sea. Little did they know that an enemy more fearsome than they could possibly imagine was about to hove into view on that very horizon. And they were the Vikings.
On the 7th of June 793, they sailed straight past this point en route to the beach just outside the monastery. The monks were about to feel the full force of a ferocious seaborne attack.
Four longboats, each containing around 50 warriors, landed on this beach. Their tactics were simple. Hit poorly defended targets fast, take what you could, and get out as quick as you arrived. Their warriors were brutal. They were raised to seek glory in battle. They carried weapons that had names like Widowmaker and Legbreaker.
Use your axe! Use your axe!
You can't imagine the fear they must have instilled just by their image. When you combine that that with their cutting-edge shallow-keel boats that could land right on the beach, it allowed them to deposit huge amounts of men right on top of their target faster than anyone had ever done before. Their raids sent shockwaves through Europe. Simeon of Durham, a chronicler writing in the years following the raids, tells us more. The church of Lindisfarne was miserably filled with devastation and all but entirely and thoroughly ruined. A fleet of pagans arrived plundering as they went. They miserably ravaged and pillaged everything. They dug down the altars and plundered all the treasures of the church. Some of the brethren they slew, some they carried off in chains. The greater number they stripped naked, insulted and cast out of doors, and some they drowned in the sea. Surprisingly, after the first Viking raids on Lindisfarne, it was the monks themselves who were blamed for it. They were accused of all sorts of really surprising things: drunkenness, lewdness, unmanliness. Anything that could be thrown at them was. They were blamed completely for the raids that had hit their own monastery. The Vikings who raided Lindisfarne were sent by God as a punishment. These words were written by a man called Alcuin. He'd actually grown up in York, but he'd ended up working out on the continent for King Charlemagne. And his words let us in on something that many might be really quite surprised about. Because it seems these Vikings sent by God as punishment were not unknown to the inhabitants of Lindisfarne. The monks were accused of copying heathen haircuts, and to copy a haircut, you needed to have seen it and to be impressed by it. Whilst we can only assume, it seems highly likely that Scandinavian traders had become a feature at many seaborne settlements in 8th century Anglo-Saxon Britain. It's also highly likely that is how the Viking warriors who came to raid knew that this would be a good place to come to. So why would these early Christians trade with what we are told are evil pagans? Well, if you recall last time, we discovered that the Anglo-Saxons came from lands very close to Scandinavia, which were, of course, the place that the Vikings were coming from. The Saxons came from Old Saxony, which is a part now of Germany. And the Angles came from Jutland, which is now part of Denmark. And the Anglo-Saxons, just like we do, really cherished their history. And it is indeed a paradox that the history that they cherished so much was so close to that of the Vikings. The question is, who exactly were the Vikings? I think it all starts with that horned helmet, made famous by the composer Richard Wagner when his Ring Cycle opera was first performed. That, I'm sorry to tell you, is not what a Viking helmet looked like. The best representation is this, found in a grave in Germandu in Norway. Now the thing is, helmets like this have actually been found all over that part of the world, including beyond the traditional Viking borderlands. It's open-faced, conical, and it has a distinctly Eastern vibe, and it was most definitely worn by many different types of people. So it's fair to say that the Vikings did not look like what we've been led to believe. And what of that name, Viking? Well, it wasn't actually used in antiquity. Its earliest known reference wasn't until 1014 AD. That's 200 years after the first Viking raids began all across Europe. So what were they actually called? It was Danes.
And whilst that implies that they all came from Denmark, that is most certainly not the case at all.
So where does the name Viking actually come from? It seems to derive from the Old Norse word Vikinga. What did that mean? In essence, to go on an adventure. So Viking did not mean a person, it was something that you did, it was an activity. It was only in the 19th century that Viking takes on the connotations that it has today. The vicious warriors who raided Lindisfarne Beach in 793 were known simply as Danes.
But all this really is a side issue to the main event, because the fact remains that the Vikings were here. They were vicious, and they were going to bring about an end to life here on Lindisfarne, and also they were going to change life forever in Anglo-Saxon Britain. The question is, why were they here? Well, it turns out that the Vikings themselves were being attacked in their homelands, and the people who were attacking them turned out to be the Christians of Europe. When we come back in part 2, we're going to delve into this absolutely fascinating story. So thank you so much for watching so far, and I'll see you later on in the show with more of the story of Holy Island.
Would you believe it? They didn't wear horned helmets.
They didn't.
I think lots of people probably know this, but it's just one of those things which becomes part of the folklore. And I think, films and TV shows have a lot to sort of answer for there, because they always seem to, apart from the more recent ones that try and depict them more realistically, but my goodness, no horned helmets. And they weren't even called Vikings.
No.
I mean, sort of cool though that it was a word. Well, it's cool that it was a word that was used back then. I mean, but isn't it? I love as well the fact that Vikinga, with an R on the end. I wish we had words like that now.
Yeah.
Words are much more straightforward and like...
They are, yeah.
They don't have as much character.
No.
That's what we want.
That's true.
More words with character. Now, when we come back in part 2, we're going to find out why they came to Lindisfarne, but also... Have you noticed we were there a little bit in episode 1, we're going to be there a lot more now in episode 2. That pyramid thing, we're going to learn all about what that is, because I had no idea what it was until we went, and it is a spectacular thing to look at, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it is,
cool.
And it's a cool thing to walk to, which is what we did, it's a great thing.
Cool.
Oh, we're going to walk to that thing there.
Yeah.
And
right
it's
on the
really
coast.
cool.
Well, there's a lot of coast, it's an island.
There's a lot of coast.
That's all to come, though, later on in the show. Because right now, it's time for me to show you my pick of the projects.
Oh, you're going first.
Yes, I'm going to show you my pick of the projects. And we've had such a really cool and exciting couple of weeks. And the reason being is Kay and I sat down, we got out all my... Because, of course, last time Show Did the Goldie finished another colour work jumper. And... we dug out all my books.
All your Lopi books.
All my Lopi books.
Yeah.
And we went through them all.
Yes.
And it was a brilliant thing to do, because we were able to pick all the ones which were the just fit the vibe that, I really love. And we found 3. And
we did.
I think all 3 of them are better than any of the ones I've done already.
Yeah, they all had something different to what you've done already, which was brilliant.
But they were drawing the eye more. It was like, oh my goodness, I totally got to have a bit of this. So we narrowed it down to 3, and then it was a case of going, right, well, which one shall I do first? And the first 2 that I'm not doing looked a bit more normal.
Yes.
They look like what you would expect.
Yeah.
And the one that I've picked does not look like what you would expect.
It's from number 40, the Lopi book number 40. So if you've got this book, it's in this one. And
the pattern is Scarfar.
Yeah.
And I'll just read you the thing that's underneath, because I'm allowed to, because I'm not giving away any of the pattern.
No.
So it says Cormorant's European Shags. Shag Skerry, a rock in the fjord, different from all the others. The cormorants sit on the cliff, drying their wings in the wind. And the reason being is it's got birds in the pattern. I mean, how cool. Now, look, you might recognise this lovely chap because he was the model who was very sort of lovely wearing the Alexander.
That's right.
But that's not the one that we're interested in.
That's not the one we're doing because that one only uses 4 colours.
Yes.
And Dan is doing, I say we.
This guy also had the Alexander on. I bet you it was the same shoot.
Oh.
I bet you it was the same shoot.
But it's this lovely man. This is the one that Dan is knitting in these exact colours.
I mean, beyond stupendous. I think it is breathtaking.
So if you look on the yoke down here, it's the black portion. It looks like birds with their wings open. Can you see that? And I didn't see it at first. I was looking at the pale blue bits. But yeah, it's got birds all on it. So shall I tell everybody the yarns?
Yes.
The colours of the yarn.
Yes. Yeah, and we'll show you the yarns.
We'll show you the yarn so you can have a look at the yarns. So the main colour, the blue, is number 9419 and that's Ocean. And then we've got a black, which is number 0005 and that's Black Heather. The pale blue is number 1700 and it's called Air Blue. And then we've got a golden colour, which is 9426 and it's called Golden. And then the last one is 9427 and that's Rust. And they're the exact colours from the pattern.
And that's the best one, I think, the Rust one.
Yeah, the Rust is the one we had to wait for that I couldn't find anywhere in this country. And I found it in, is it Rito Hobby, is it called? And it only came yesterday. So Dan was like, cast on, quick.
Yeah, so there's not a lot to see.
There's not a lot to see, no, but it's on the needles.
It's on the needles, and it's too exciting. It's just too exciting. I mean, like, the world does not feel right if I don't have one of these jumpers on the go. So, you know, it's only been probably a couple of weeks since I finished the other one. So it just feels now just lovely to have it back on the needles again, or to have one back on the needles. And what I'm so pleased about with this project is the fact that it looks different.
It does look different.
I'm so into that. And I don't think I'd want like 5 different ones. I think having one different one in your collection of 7 is like the perfect vibe. So that, you know, if you're feeling particularly sort of out there one day, you can pop this one on. And I love the fact that the blues are so silly.
Yeah, I mean, this is the main colour. And it's just such a lovely blue. It's sort of like a denim-y blue, I would say.
This, I said to you when I started knitting with this Rust, that it's the most uniform and strong Let Lopi yarn I've ever knitted with. The long-term viewers of the show will know when I've knitted other Let Lopi jumpers, sometimes, the Galaxy in particular, was very sort of pulley-aparty.
Right.
You had to be very careful with it. This feels really uniform and really strong and sturdy.
And I think that Rust actually would be a brilliant colour for you for, you know, as the main colour. It's gorgeous. So this is the one we had to wait for because it was out of stock. And I wonder if that is just because it's so popular. But isn't that just the most gorgeous colour?
It's properly gorgeous.
It's really lovely.
Yeah.
And I think would look great as a, you know, a jumper as the main colour. Oh, so nice.
Now, the other thing...
Sort of matches your hair.
The other thing that got me so excited about this project was, as you recall last time, I showed you my flurry socks. And I'd done 2 rounds of a contrast colour on the top. This one has 2 rounds of a contrast colour on the bottom.
At the bottom.
And it's the Rust.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why you couldn't start it, because the body of the jumper started with the Rust, and so does the sleeves. So we just had to wait, didn't we?
Sticking that little pop of colour down
really
there,
lovely.
it's like,
It was worth waiting for that colour, definitely, because we did have another option, and I'm really glad that we decided to wait for that colour.
I'm in love with that Rust colour.
It's gorgeous.
It's completely wonderful. So this is it. Now, Self-Contained Knitter came out yesterday, and I properly went crazy about all of this. And I also went into detail about what the other 2 jumpers are that we selected. So if you want to know all the jumpers that we looked at and learn a little bit more about what's coming up, because I'm going to knit these now one after the other. And I'm so excited about all of them. And what's so wonderful is I've gone from being in a position where I would finish one of these and be like, oh no,
Yeah.
oh no, this is a nightmare. What am I going to do? Now I can look forward. And it's
Yeah.
all thanks to Kay.
We've got it lined up. It's not really. We just got all of Dan's Lopi books out. You've got about 5 of them, I think,
Yeah.
haven't you?
We sat down.
I sort of buy him one randomly every now and again as like Christmas, stocking filler type things.
perfect.
And we just sat down, didn't we, and spent maybe half an hour just going
Yeah.
through them. So
Picking-
it definitely is worth taking the time to do that. Time is a precious thing,
And
isn't
a
it? But it
huge
was
thing.
worthwhile.
It's so wonderful to have the book.
Yeah, yeah.
It would have been so much harder to do this looking on a
On a
computer
screen.
or on a device.
It would have been so much harder.
Physically being able to sit there and
flick
through
through the book.
look at the pattern, and
Yeah.
just
That
heaven.
was really beneficial.
It's
yeah.
properly sort of, the way it should be.
Yeah.
Just love it.
Yeah.
So scarf art is the way forward.
Yeah.
And so looking forward to seeing how this one works up, because it starts with the lovely
Yeah.
colour work on the bottom, but having that pop then with the other bits of colour and then getting into the blue. I'm so looking forward to knitting through the blue.
Yeah.
Seeing that blue
it's-
appear.
You can't really see the colour work at the bottom very well on this picture. Can you see down here? But there is some. Does it show more on the other dudes? It does. Let me show you on. You can see it better on this black version. Look. Can you see down here? It's really nice. Isn't he dapper? I love this fella. He sort of looks Viking-ish, doesn't he?
Well, they both are.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Iceland's actually going to come
got-
up in part 2.
Tartan trousers on.
What a legend.
They're very smart.
Yeah. So this is
It's
it.
going to be a fun new project for you.
This is the big one.
Is it?
Yeah, Phil.
I don't know that film.
Okay.
I don't
Oh,
know
the
that
line is, that's the big one.
I don't know that one.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
So that's my pick of the projects.
Yes.
Let's find out what Kay's pick of the projects is.
Okay, well, mine's not a jumper, I'm sorry to say, but I'm sure you're not surprised that mine is not a jumper.
It's perfectly acceptable.
You get all the jumper action from Dan.
Yes.
Mine is a hat. Now, as part of my revisiting of old patterns recently, this is not an old pattern, but I've got a number of kind of designs that I've had sat around part way done through all of this year, really, and I've just not had the opportunity to go back to them and do the extra work that I need to get them finished off and get the pattern out there. Now, this particular hat, I really wanted to get another one on the needles, because we're now getting into, we're sort of nearly into late summer, aren't we? Which means that we're almost into the beginning of autumn. Here we are, wishing our lives away again. And this is...
You've got to be prepared, Kay.
You've got to be prepared, yes. So that's
Otherwise
why...
you won't have any of these things ready for the new season.
That's right, and that's why I wanted to pick this up. So this hat, you might remember, I made a couple of these hats. It was like the back end of last year, beginning of this year.
Oh, look at them.
And it's this one. So it's this plain stocking stitch folded brim hat.
Completely gorgeous.
So the purple one was the first one that I knitted, and this one was knit with yarn that was a gift. And I can't remember the name of the yarn dyer. I'm terrible, aren't I? Because this is fingering weight held double. So you could either use fingering weight held double, or you could use a DK, as long as you can get gauge. But I knit another one because I was trying out different crown decreases, and I've gone with the decreases that are on this one. This yarn was Bird Street yarn, this one, and the colourway is confetti, and I just thought this was a lovely winter coloured hat. Really pretty for walking in the snow. So I've got those two already, I know, I got those two already knitted. And all I needed to do, really, I'd written the pattern, I'd drafted a pattern out, worked out another size, because I wanted a couple of sizes in there. And what I needed to do was knit another one so that I could record a tutorial for the folded brim. So I've done that now. We've recorded a tutorial for the folded brim, and that'll be getting into the pattern in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to finish off this hat that I'm going to show you now, and then I can get it into test knitting. So I'm hoping this pattern will be out sometime, I would hope, maybe around the end of August, something like that. right in time really to start knitting these in preparation for the chillier weather. So this is the hat that I'm working on now, and this is the one that I used to show how to do that folded brim. And I'm pretty much, I'm nearly done with it really. They're very quick, which is brilliant, isn't it? Hats are a quick project. But with this one, it's all stocking stitch. There's no purling at all. All you've got to do is knit, knit, knit. You then fold your brim and, create that lovely look. And then you just carry on up to the crown, do some decreases. You've got a lovely hat. So this is the one I used to do the tutorial. This is a pixie yarn, because when I was knitting these hats earlier in the year, I ordered a bunch of different pixie yarn skeins because she does such lovely tonals, and tonals which are kind of really interesting as well. There's sort of other colours in there, but it's not too busy. And this one I thought was perfect, the grey one. So this is actually called Rock of Ages, and it's a great name, because it's that kind of grey rock-like colour. And here's so there's two, I've split it into two 50 grams, and I'm holding these together. It's a great use of a single skein of fingering weight. We all have those in our stash, don't we? And yeah, I'm knitting through this. So the folded brim is so neat and tidy. I'll show you the inside. You see that, how lovely and smooth it is. There's no bump or anything. And it's so easy to do and fun. I really love creating that folded brim. I've included detail in the pattern that makes creating the folded brim, I think, much easier. There's things that we do when we start the hat to help us in creating that folded brim and making sure that it's really neat and tidy, that it's all lined up. Because that, I think, is the most difficult thing when you're doing this. If you miss a stitch when you're picking it up, you can get a bit off and it can skew a little bit. But the method that I use, it's really simple, but it will keep you right when you're picking up for the folded brim. And it just looks so lovely. It's a unisex pattern. Anybody could wear this in your family. And I think it's just that perfect, it's the perfect holiday knit. It's the perfect just chillaxing, as the people say. Do they still say that? I don't know. And I just love the way it looks. So I've done two sizes for this. This one, which is the size that I wear, this size I've called a kind of medium large. And it comes to just over my ears, which is what I really like. But there's room. My head's 22 inches, and I would say this is a good fit for like 22 to 24 inches, so medium to large, I would say. So what I've done in the pattern is I've put in a slightly smaller size as well, because I know some people like really fitted beanies, but also it might be you want to knit these for younger members of your family. So hopefully I've covered a good range of bases. And I've tried this on Bryony's head. Her head is probably even, I don't know, it might be sort of 24, maybe even a bit more than that, because she does have quite a big head. And she got it on okay. The only thing I would have done slightly different for her head is just knit it a little bit deeper, because it didn't quite cover her ears. But in terms of circumference, it was fine. So I know that was good. So yeah, there'll be two sizes. There's a medium large, which is this one, and then there'll be a small as well. So I'm going to get this pattern finished off in the next couple of weeks, get it into testing, and then, like I say, hopefully it will be out towards the end of August, I would say. I would hope that this would be out. And I've called it just folded hat. I've just kept it simple and to the point of what it is.
And it literally is your most perfect hat ever, isn't it?
It really is.
You love it.
Yeah, I created a version of this for our advent calendar last year, which was fingering weight. And it had other details on it because it was an advent design. But that particular hat is my most worn hat. I wear that all the time. But when it's really, really cold, I do want something a bit thicker. So this is just perfect. So So yeah, that's why it's my pick of the projects, because I'm just so enjoying it. And what I really enjoy is being able to just choose a single skein of yarn and know that I can knit something pretty with it. I'll have a bit of leftover, so I can put that into scrappy projects, which is another thing that I really love. And actually, my original plan for when I was going to reknit this was I was going to use this one. This is another pixie yarn called Persia, but I realised that it was quite a dark colour and I didn't want to use a dark colour for the tutorial. You know, I wanted everything to be clear, and this grey was much lighter and I thought would be much more visible for a tutorial. So I've got this one all ready to go for my next one, which is cool. I think it's always nice to have, you know, a hat, an emergency project all packed up in there with the needles and everything, that you can just grab it if you ever need that kind of a project. So yeah, I'll keep you posted on the folded hat.
The moment has come, because we've got some gorgeous projects to show you. And one of them is off Kay's needle, not
Yes.
needles. So without further ado, I shall say, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
Right, so yes, what is off my needle? Because I've been doing some stitching, some slow stitching, because this little item is the third project in Summer of Stitching this year.
Yes. Oh my goodness, it's been so amazing. We've done two things so far. This
Yeah,
is the third
this is
thing.
the third.
We started off with a 100-acre blanket.
Yes.
We then moved on. You've just finished the 100-acre bag.
Tote bag,
Yes.
yeah.
And now, starting on the 5th of August, running through August,
Yeah.
Kay's absolutely extensive series. These are lengthy videos full of cuteness and joy. And the first part goes out on the 5th of August. And we thought perhaps you might like to see a little snippet.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Summer of Stitching. Oh my goodness, we are back in a different little wooded area today, which is very beautiful. We're actually really close to the river, which is literally just there. Now it's time to do some fun slow stitching to round off the summer. What we're actually going to be making today is a bag tag. I've got two here. And then there's one, this is the one actually that's down here on the bag. This is the one that you'll see me make. And it's just so sweet. So in front of me here, I've got everything that you're going to need to create your bag tag. So we're starting here in the middle with the fabrics, if you like. So the way I'm going to start this is I'm going to go from this side down through the fabric so that the knot ends up here. So there we go. We have started our beautiful bag tag and we've created this gorgeous framework.
How cute is that? We showed this on our Patreon exclusive show on Sunday and people were like combusting with that's so cute.
Yeah.
It's like you've been hit in the face with cuteness.
So here it is. These are bag tags, as I've called them. I've got 3 here. And this is actually the one that I created when we did the tutorials for it.
But you're not going to show the back, are you?
I'm not going to show the back.
That's a surprise for
because
the
this
series.
one, this one's got a little surprise on the back. Because on the back of I'll show you the other 2, I embellished the back piece of felt with a beautiful embroidered flower. But I did something a bit different on the back of the one that I filmed, so I won't show that. I'll keep it as a surprise. But yeah, I just called these bag tags because it's just a cute thing to attach to your tote bag or any bag really. And I was inspired to do this by, you know, when you buy a posh bag and it has those cardboard tags attached with the designer labels or whatever. I just thought about that and thought, well, why can't we create a bag tag?
Quite right.
But what I've actually said in the series is that if you don't want a bag tag, you can use this technique to create whatever you want. A bookmark, I think, is the thing that comes to mind the most. You could easily adapt this into a bookmark. or you could do a wall hanging, or, whatever creative thing you want, really. It uses lots of different stitches and lots of little bits of fabric and bits of trim to create just this lovely little slow stitched piece. It's all hand stitched. It's got a hanging loop. There's no machine stitching with this at all. It's completely handmade and created from really just little bits of leftovers plus some embroidery threads. And yeah, it's a little thing, but my goodness, there's a lot of work gone into this little thing. I spent hours and hours and hours coming up with a prototype, creating this, deciding what stitches I was going to use. And then there's, I've made 3 here, but actually there was another prototype as well. And each of these takes a good number of hours and thinking about. And then as I was making them, I made all of these notes. And yeah, it was a really fun process, but it did take quite some time. So I really hope that our patrons enjoy it when we get to this, and that, because a lot of people, when we showed that little video, said, I wasn't sure I was going to make that, but now I've seen it, I really want to make it. And I would encourage you to give it a go, because it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's something different to do with your hands, to create something, and perfect for little gifts. They could be gift tags, couldn't they, on a special Christmas present or anything like that. Really, really enjoyed creating that, and that's the last thing in this year's Summer of Stitching.
Yes, but we've got all month to enjoy it.
We do.
And many hours of footage.
Yeah.
But very fun.
A lot of filming. But yes, very fun. Very fun. So, Dan Jones, what's off your needles?
Look at my gorgeous socks.
He
they're
his
marvellous.
Socks. He finished his socks, everybody.
It couldn't be better, because it is, of course, the yarn that Kay dyed up in the first episode of My Perfect Socks. The yarn's amazing.
Yeah, it's worked
Genuinely,
really nicely, hasn't it?
Utterly spectacular. The distribution of colour is like...
It's pretty good, isn't it?
It's more than pretty good. It's perfect.
That's the back that's plain.
And the design was just so fun to knit. It was, something not quite like what I'd done
Which
before
one was this?
with lots of the... Snow Forest?
Snow Forest.
I got it. Boom.
This is the Snow Forest socks. Yeah.
Really, really fun to knit. So, just tremendous. But the yarn is just so fun.
Perfect for a Snow Forest as well.
And it's so fun looking at it now that it's finished, because you can sort of step back and you're not thinking about knitting the project anymore. So you're looking just solely at that yarn. And I mean, my goodness, that might be the nicest yarn I think I've ever knitted with. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And yeah, that's another one from this year's My Perfect Sock series.
Yes.
That's been knitted up. So that's
and I'm
really
going to give them to our daughter Bryony.
They're going to go to Bryony.
How exciting.
This morning.
Oh,
She'll love those.
Nice.
Yeah.
And speaking of socks...
Yes. I also have a finished pair of socks.
I get socks too.
Dan gets a pair of socks because I finished his latest pair of DK weight socks. These lovelies that I showed you last time. So I used Drops Fiesta, which is a DK weight sock yarn. And this colourway is Fairy Tale. And then this is also Drops Fiesta, the beigey colour. I can't remember the colourway name, but you'd recognise it if you saw the colours. There's only one really that's that sort of colour. And they're all done. I did have just a little bit of the main colour left. I used 100 grams of the main colour and 50 grams of the contrast. And I didn't weigh them, but I did have a little bit left of the main and, a nice little chunk left of the contrast. I know they pulled horribly, but Dan sort of likes it. He thinks it looks a bit sort of psychedelic. I mean, look at that.
I don't think I'd go as far as to say that I like it.
Oh, do you not like it?
I know that they're going to fit wonderfully.
Isn't it? I mean,
they're going to fit wonderfully, and they're going to be perfect in all seasons.
Yes.
Forget the man for all seasons. These are the socks for all seasons.
It's fine, isn't it? They're going in his shoes and no one will see them. But
last year we
discovered
Journey. This year we've discovered DK weight socks are the answer.
Yes.
To hot days and cold.
Oh. And keep your eye out for this stitch pattern, because next time I'm going to be showing you something else that's very exciting.
Oh. Prepare yourselves.
A little snippet of
joyousness
fun there. Yes, so they're yours, darling.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great. So that's it. Gorgeous pick of the projects. Wonderful what's off your needles. Now is time for us to get back to Lindisfarne to explore more of the history of a truly stunning place.
Welcome back, everyone, to my story of Holy Island. Now, we've made our way out to one of the really iconic sites of Holy Island that I don't think too many people come up to. This is Emmanuel Head, and it looks distinctly Egyptian, but it isn't actually. This is what's known as a day mark.
It's used as a navigational aid for sailors and pilots, distinctively marked to maximise visibility in the daylight. This one was built around 1805. It stands 10 metres tall, and it was designed to help navigators make their way up the precarious northeast coast of England.
The tidal waters around here can catch a ship out fast. That's a modern ship with the really sort of deep keel that cuts through the water. The Vikings, though, didn't have that problem. They were using cutting-edge ships with really shallow keels, which enabled them to get into parts of the world, really, that no one else could. But who were the men manning these ships? And what brought them to this island on these raids? Let's take a walk down the east coast of Lindisfarne to the site of that initial Viking raid and see if we can find out a little bit more about the Vikings themselves.
I don't know about you, but I find it easy to imagine monks inhabiting the land that surrounds this island. In my head, they look just like Friar Tuck from Robin Hood. Over the horizon comes the quintessential Hollywood villain, the Vikings, with their horned helmets. But as we've discovered, that simply wasn't true. The population of Lindisfarne looked unbelievably like the population of Scandinavia. The Anglo-Saxons of England saw echoes from their own pasts in the Vikings that seemed familiar. But this was a world they'd left behind hundreds of years ago. These men of the north might look familiar, but there was one thing separating them from the Anglo-Saxons, and that was religion.
The violence which struck Lindisfarne in 793 was just the start of a series of raids all over the north of England, Scotland and Ireland. The Irish Chronicles describe the plundering that took place around Dublin in 821 AD.
The Chronicle states the heathens won a battle in Armagh so that very many prisoners were taken by them. Recent research has suggested many of these captives, mostly women, were housed in cramped conditions back in Scandinavia and forced to mass-produce textiles for the export market. They were known in Old Norse as thralls. That's a word which survives today in the world, enthralled, to be captivated by something. These thralls weren't just used by their captors, they were also sold in the markets of Samarkand and Baghdad.
So what drove the Vikings to make the perilous journey across the North Sea and to start raiding so far from their homelands? The biggest answer comes in the kingdom of Charlemagne. Charlemagne's kingdom is pretty much now what we would consider France, although it was quite a bit bigger than that when it was formed. Charlemagne, or Charles the Great as we would know him, controlled an absolutely huge Christian empire, and he was on the march.
Long before the birth of Germany and France, Charlemagne was king of the Franks, and he ruled large parts of that territory. He did much to define the shape of the world which we all live in today. He created a united Europe of sorts, dramatically expanding his kingdom and then introducing laws and government not seen since the height of the Roman Empire. Charlemagne did this by fighting wars exceptional for their combination of brutality and religious zeal. For example, if you refused to be baptized into the Christian faith, he had you executed. Charlemagne focused his wrath on the pagans that surrounded his kingdom, and that included the countries of Scandinavia. His conquests put huge pressure on the Vikings. Previously, they traded with the lands that surrounded them, but as Charlemagne pushed outwards, they ran the risk of poking a very angry bear if they entered into one of his territories. Whilst few written histories remain of this period, the raids on Britain coincide with the pressures that the Vikings were facing in their homelands of Scandinavia.
So it is very much the violent spread of Christianity from the court of King Charlemagne in France that pushed the Vikings to begin raiding the monasteries of England, Scotland and Ireland.
The contrast between the rising kingdom of Charlemagne and that of the Vikings is really quite startling. Take a look at this. It's Charlemagne's cathedral in his hometown of Aachen in modern-day Germany. It features tiers of columns and arches reaching up to heaven. It looks cosmopolitan, distinctly Roman, with fixtures and fittings transplanted from another world. It couldn't look more different to this, could it? Welcome to Lofoten. It looks like something from Lord of the Rings. This was the site of the Longhouse at Borg, the centre of the Viking community in Norway. It was the social hub for the farming community it supported. Religious, social and practical functions took place within the hall. Unlike the Christian church, with its purpose-built temples and professional priesthood, the Viking religion was personal and domestic. The raiding of Britain now took on a religious angle for the Vikings. They were being forced to convert to Christianity, so they would strike back at the religious sites of the Christians. But make no mistake, Scandinavians loved any opportunity to make money, so this religion-driven quest for vengeance to them was a win-win. That's all because in the Viking era, the ownership of precious objects demonstrated to all around you if you were a success or failure. Vikings were though still people, just like you and me. A perfect example of this comes from the story of Ottar and his son Olaf. Ottar and his family lived here in Hålogaland, Norway, around 870 AD. Ottar considers himself a farmer. He's 20 sheep, 20 pigs, a couple of horses, which he uses for ploughing, but he also owns 600 reindeer. The land here is tough, and it's difficult to make money from. Ottar wants a better lifestyle for himself and his family, so he travels south to trade. He does this in his ship of pine and ash. It's a traditional shallow-bottom Viking ship that enables him to dock at most shorelines. Today, Ottar is preparing for a special journey, as it's the first time his teenage son Olaf will be part of his crew. He tells his son the first stretch of the voyage will be long and rough, but you just have to hang in there. I know you won't get seasick, he tells him. You're a grown man now and you'll make me proud. Ottar does not like being away from home for so long every summer and feels guilt that his wife has to take charge of the farm. But she's adamant that he continues his work as a trader, as she really appreciates the things he brings home, especially the salt and spices which make their food more tasty. Don't forget, she tells him, bring home some gifts for the children and a piece of jewellery for me. He gives his wife a long, touching embrace. Be brave, he tells her, and she nods. After a final squeeze and a kiss, he lets go of her, boards his ship, and sets off for another treacherous voyage. That true story of Ottar comes down to us through the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. And I was moved when I read it because I think it's easy to see the Vikings as villains, but they certainly were not. They were just like the Anglo-Saxons of Lindisfarne, and in many ways, just like you and me. There's so many emotions in that story that are so easy to associate with. The Vikings also were early adopters of democracy. One of the oldest parliaments in the world was formed in the time of the Vikings. It stemmed from the Thing, which was an assembly of free men that set the laws and made decisions in legal matters.
Iceland was a huge part of the Viking world, and their Thing gave rise to the All-Thing. This was a meeting which first took place in 930 AD. It brought together all the things in Iceland. It was, in effect, the first type of meeting that would be similar to a Senate meeting in the US or a parliamentary meeting in the UK.
The event took place in Thingvellir, which is to this day a stunning location. The Icelandic Parliament was held here until 1798. It was only when it reconvened 47 years later that it moved to its current location in Reykjavik. But we have to remember that the world inhabited by the people that we know as Vikings today was brutal. This was a time when the sword ruled, and so whilst they might be democratic at home, to their enemies they were merciless. So I think we have established that the common impression of the Viking is not perhaps what we expected. They were a democratic people. In many ways, they approached life like you and I do. The monks who lived on Lindisfarne knew the Vikings as traders. They even looked similar, deliberately in fact, as a way to recruit new pilgrims to their cause.
But now they faced the full brunt of a ferocious seaborne attack. This was the first of a string of raids all across Great Britain, but this one here at Lindisfarne sent shockwaves through Europe.
After that initial flurry of raids following the first at Lindisfarne, there was in fact a 29-year gap, but it was the calm before the storm.
In 836, a fleet of 25 ships landed on the Somerset coast and they raided an Anglo-Saxon palace. It was time for a change in the tactics of the Vikings. No longer were they going to look for easy targets like monasteries. Now they had their sights set on something bigger.
The Vikings were testing the toughness of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, and they had failed that test. Viking armies would from now on display a sophisticated understanding of how power worked in the kingdoms of Britain. They would exploit it, undermine it, until they themselves became part of it. 850 was the year everything changed. Instead of returning home like they always had done before, the invading Vikings stayed through the winter for the first time. This was the beginning of the end for the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. Their raids now became battles of conquest. Somerset, Hampshire, London, and multiple locations across the north of England all were targeted. The marauding warriors weren't always successful. In the year following their first winter stayover, they fought a vicious battle at Ockley in Surrey, losing badly to the King of Wessex.
They would avoid the county for the next 10 years. This actually gave rise to the man who would lead the charge of resistance against the Viking hordes, King Alfred the Great. But that was all in the distant future. Right now, the Vikings were here to stay, and they were about to conquer the majority of Britain. That, though, is a story for next time. So for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more of my story of Holy Island. In this episode in the series, we're finally going to get inside this wonderful building for a proper explore. If we look here in the north wall, we can actually see some shallow, square, sort of indentations. These are what's called put-log holes. And what these were used for were the builders of the church. They would put in wood that would then come across, and it would enable them to build scaffolding so that they could then build the church. For the next 77 years, the monastery would regularly come under attack, and the casualties would have been many and really quite gruesome. Now, there's an absolute treasure that is still here on the island, and it's a gravestone dating from exactly this period, and it gives us perhaps an idea of what one of those raids must have felt like.
Would you believe it? They weren't as bad as they've been made out at all. Do you know what? When I was researching, I got a book called 24 Hours in the Viking World, and I was gobsmacked because they were, in my childhood, painted to me in a very particular way, Vikings. Vicious, nasty, horrific warriors. And the truth is not that at all. They were painted in that way deliberately, largely by that Alcuin fella that we mentioned, who was from Northumbria. Anyway, it turns out, and it was reading specifically about Ottar and Olaf, the story of Ottar and Olaf, a father and son, and sort of picking up those tangible bits of life that are exactly the same then as they are now. They're just humans. And, you know, it's just fascinating to, you know, for those of you who know me, you'll know that I love history, and to learn about new bits of history is just always so wonderful. And I think it's particularly wonderful when myths are dispelled. And yes, so I find myself liking the Vikings. I like them quite a lot. And it was a difficult one to decide what the right thing to do was as well in the series, because we obviously established in that episode that they were known as Danes, not Vikings. But I just thought it would be crazy to start calling them Danes. Because we all know them as Vikings. So that's why I call them Vikings now, and I will do all the way through the series, because that's how we know them now. End of part 2. Part 3, very exciting, because we've been seeing a little bit, just a tiny little bit of that monastery. Part 3, we're going to delve deeply into one of the most interesting monasteries I've ever visited, because it's like a monastery / castle. There are fortified elements to it. Because it was right on the edge of the sort of Christian world, they had to protect it from potential invasion. But it wasn't invasion from the Vikings, it was actually invasion from the Scots. That's what they were. That's what they were trying to protect themselves from. But we'll get more into that.
Scotland's like just there, isn't it?
We'll get more into that in episodes 3 and 4. Next time, though, My Perfect Socks is back. And we've seen so many yarns from My Perfect Socks so far in the episode. It's going to be exciting to see what comes next as we race towards the end of the socks.
Absolutely. And the next colour, actually, it's a colour that we've not seen so far in the series.
I like it.
That'll be fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Kay's bought some yarn.
Yes. So, do you remember last time I told you that I'd ordered this tweedy yarn?
Yeah.
Well, it arrived.
Why did you redo that? I like the way you said arrived.
I said it wrong. It arrived.
Arrived.
I wound it up with the intention of casting it on straight away and then didn't, because I don't know why. I think I just wanted to use that yarn that I showed you for that pair of socks that more associated with Jemima Puddle Duck, because this is pink and I couldn't get that to work in my brain. So anyway, I've got it all ready to cast on, but it's really nice. So the yarn that I got is this one. It's all wound into a cake. It's this gorgeous shade of pink with all of these tweedy speckles. And the yarn is Lana Grosser. And it's this word. I'm not even going to try and say it. I'm not even going to try and say this word. There's Lana Grosser, this. And the colourway number is 149. So it's lovely. And do you know what? It's definitely softer than an opal, I would say. I think it's an 80-20. It is. It's 80-20 wool and nylon. So it's a bit less nylon than an opal or a regia. But it feels really nice. So I've got high hopes that this one is going to be lovely. And isn't that just the prettiest shade of pink? So that will be on my needles at some point. And then whilst I was ordering that, I got this one as well, which is also from Lana Grossa, I think. It is Lana Grossa. I had to look right inside the ball band. And this one is called Landlust Sock Wool. Can you see that? And it's self-striping. And isn't that fun, those colours? So it's got like a sort of patterned section, and then it's purples and pinks, and there's a bit of yellow and red. And this colourway is number 315. And there wasn't a lot of stock of these sorts of types. There was a couple of the colourways that were sold out, and it was the ones I liked the best, which is obviously always the case, isn't it? But this one I really liked. So again, I think it's an 80-20. It is very soft. Yeah, it's the same thing, 80-20, 420 metres. But really nice and soft. Definitely softer than opal. And it looks, on the face of it, it looks quite nice and plump. So we'll see when I get to that. But I just wanted to show you in case you've not heard of it. Go searching for it, have a look. Because I do think it looks nice. And I'll let you know once that's cast on what I think.
Our latest issue of Knitability, that's our magazine, is out now, and it's an absolute corker because we had a couple of absolutely amazing interviews, but one in particular with the wonderful Rasta Shoe, and he's just the most wonderful person. He does the most spectacular designs.
Yes.
And Rastus was so cool. He actually then was part of our last patron-only show.
Yeah.
So he put together an amazing video segment, and we played that in our last patron-only show. And he offered a discount code for our Baker Bear patrons. So you can head over, you can read the magazine, and also as well, you can go and watch that patron-only show, get a discount code, then go and buy yourself one of his amazing designs.
Beautiful designs. He's from Taiwan.
Yes. Knitability is, of course, managed by our wonderful Jen Keeler, who is the editor of Knitability. But Jen also does some presenting duties for us.
She does.
And she's just reviewed. Did you know that Caterpillar, famous for their cross-stitch kits, they've actually started doing some crochet kits?
They have.
Jen's just done a review, and this is a little snippet.
Patrons, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I am back with another yarn / project review, and I am really excited about it. So this month's review is actually one of the first boxes from Caterpillar Crochet. The kit comes with pretty much everything, well actually everything that you need to make your own caterpillar. You've got your stuffing, you get 3 green balls and a pink. We'll talk about the yardage on the yarn later. You also get a really nice hook. I really enjoy these. It's not your standard just aluminum hook. So I got the head done, and I got most of the body done. I am on the last circle up here, but as you can see, I ran out of yarn. And I went in the group to see if that was a common occurrence, and it's not. A lot of people were able to finish their project no problem. There are a couple of us that ran out of yarn. If you're like me and you're looking for some cozy projects as we head into the middle heat waves of summer and you just want to relax with something that isn't super heavy and hot, then something like this would be perfect for you. I guess, have you thought about venturing into the Caterpillar Crochet subscription boxes?
Looks pretty cool, doesn't
Isn't it fun?
Definitely fun. I think it's
Yeah.
aimed at the more sort of younger audience, I think. I think that's the vibe I've got from a few people.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
I know that they've done this one, which is the caterpillar from their logo.
Yeah.
And then I think they've done one which is some sort of flowers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's maybe a great
So
way
it's
for
definitely
someone...
that kind of cutesy
Yeah.
amigurumi type crochet, I think. I think they might have done a bag as well with granny squares. So yeah.
it might be a first kit.
I think so. Good introduction to
fancy giving
crochet
it-
if you fancied it. Yeah.
Giving it a bit of a go. So that's really cool. You can watch that review right now, that full review. We've, of course, already covered our Summer of Stitching.
Yes.
And that bag tag series starts
Yes.
on the 5th of August. But you can, of course, access all the back content of the Summer of Stitching, not just from this year, but also 2024 and 2023 as well.
Wow.
So there's loads of Summer of Stitching content to go at. The Summer of Stitching continues on the 5th of August, and it runs right the way through August with the gorgeous bag tag.
Yes.
And that, I think, is it.
Yay.
So thank you so much for watching. It's been wonderful
you, everybody.
to see
Super
you.
fun.
Me and all my
Yeah.
bites. We've been delighted to be here. Hopefully there'll be less of us next time.
Piling bite cream all over his body.
But for now, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you
Thanks,
next time.
everybody.
With more. Bye.
Bye.
Who's it sitting and knitting, standing cable bakery prayers. Enthusiasm's not quitting, pretending cable bakery.
Let's
So
talk about knitting,
it's-
baby.
Let's talk about... Oh, no, I can't sing that.
So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later on in the show with more story. No, this is episode 3. I'll double check actually what it is in just 1 second.
This is the wrong project. That's why I was laughing.
All right, okay, where is it?
It's next to the sofa. Could you get it for me?
You're good. Episode 2, shot 70. So thank you so much for watching so far, and I'll see you later on in the show.